Hello, this is video training, level 1, chapter 3. Chapter 3 we'll be going over some sales analysis reports. Okay, sales analysis report, first thing we want to do is go into sales journal. It's going to ask you initials and passwords. At some point in time before you go live, you'll want to enter the security system and set up your employees on who can get in here and who can't. There are many valuable reports in the sales journal. We're just going to be going over 3 reports that you may want to be looking at on a daily basis. For example, cash, check, credit card journal. This report is typically used for balance your cash register. It's date sensitive. We're going to be balancing it for today. We'll be looking at the sales that were done in Chapter 2. So if you watch Chapter 2 and you paid attention to some of the pot sales that we did, that's what we'll be looking at. You can change the date to look at a week, a month, a year, 2 years, 10 years, whatever time span you wish. You can type in the date or you can click on the calendar. Let's just look at today. Enter starting and ending using number. You may have more than one cash register. If you have one cash register, you could hit the enter key. It'll list all your different cash registers. This is the same screen that we've talked about earlier. Obviously, F1 will look at it on the screen. F2 will go to the printer that we're sitting at that computer. F3 will bring up a Windows dialog box, which will show me every printer that's on my network. F4 is going to create a PDF file and also bring up the PDF file in Acrobat and now allow me to email it, save it, to do what I wish. Let's take a look on the screen. This is a very simple report. It shows the date range that we're listing. It'll show every single sale. Now we're only looking at pot sales, but this would list every single sale that's in the cash register. We're not looking at bill sales. We're looking at anything that's in the cash register. That means cash, check, credit card. Here's the sale. The customer the sale was made to. This is the invoice number. This would normally be an invoice number, a service number if it was a service receipt. It would also be cash that you might have been posting checks in that came from receivables. All money that's been received between this date range. Total amount of the invoice, total amount collected. This will organize it by how much is cash, how much is check, how much is credit card, and it'll separate each and every type of credit card. This is total in the cash register for this date range. Okay, that was cash, check, credit card journal. Let's take a look at the sales journal. Same thing, date range. Do you want to see detail? If you were running this report and all you wanted to see for totals, maybe for a month or a year, then you would just see totals. We want to see detail. Let's take a look on the screen. This will separate by department. We only did sales in my pots department, and that's all we're covering at this particular point. So these are the sales that we just did on Chapter 2. Here's my customer, Larry Bird. Here's a cash sale. Obviously, I used F1. Didn't put the customer's name down. It shows me the invoice number. As we talked about earlier, the invoice number is a sequential number. Starts off with the next invoice will be one added to it. This is the actual time, that 1530 is the actual time that invoice was done. This was the user number that it was done on. Each computer gets assigned a user number. So you can look at an invoice number, know the date it was done, the time it was done, and the computer that it was done on, and the salesperson that actually did it. This is the date of the invoice. This was the total list price. If we look at this invoice here, the list price was $205. We discounted $54. Our tax we collected was $10.59. The total amount in the invoice was $161. The total cost of that invoice was $121. Our gross profit was $30.26. The profit margin was 20.6. On this particular invoice, our profit margin was 69.6. We gave away 442. This is the total amount we collected in my pots department on taxes. This is the total amount of my invoices. There's the total amount of my cost. Here's my gross profit from my pots department. I averaged 39.5% in my pots department today. This is what I collected on sales tax. Now, if you have multiple tax rates, you will see multiple lines. We only have one tax rate. If I had more than one tax rate, like 5%, 6%, maybe county, city, states, it will separate each one how much it collected. This will tell me exactly how much is in the cash register. What do we do for cash? What do we do for credit cards? What do we do for checks? What did we return? What did our total cash sales be? How much returns did we have? We had $12.63 in turns. We had somebody pick up some pots that he had a prior deposit of $5.68. This is the total amount of pots returned. How much was billed? How much was cash? This report will be for each department. When I do next, we would have a service department if we had service sales. We'd have a unit department if we had unit sales. We would also separate it by mail order sales versus web sales. Then we'll have a final total. In this case, because we only had pot sales, our final total is exactly the same as our pot sales. We averaged 39%. This is my gross profit for the day. This is how much is in the register today. This is what my billed my accounts receivable today, $156. That was the sales journal. Now, as we get more advanced, we will be looking at much more reports, and we'll be going in a lot more detail in these reports and really scrutinize the numbers and getting to a lot more detail. We're just starting off with the basics. What we want you to do is just learn how to use the basic system, and then we're going to get deeper and deeper as we get further along. One other report I wanted to show you, vendor journal. What's a vendor journal? This is going to organize things by my vendors and by products. For example, I want to see all vendors, and I don't want to see it sorted by department. We only have one department, which is pots. And I just want to see what we did today. What this will do will organize things by all my different vendors to find out what vendors are making the most amount of profit on. For example, on today, and if you watch the video training, Chapter 2, these are the sales that we made in Chapter 2. On Yamaha pots, we sold 30 of them. Here's the list price. We gave away $55 worth of discounts on Yamaha pots. Here's what the cost of those pots were that we sold. Here's my gross profit just on Yamaha pots. I averaged 40.7% profit on the Yamaha pots I sold between the state range. Here's another vendor. I sold 2 of those pots. I averaged 83.1% profit. There's my gross profit. On NGK, I sold 4 of them, and I averaged 53.3%. I also averaged 20% on here, and here's my gross profit. So you can see each supplier, what you're averaging and what your volume is. Also, this percentage here is the percentage of volume based on the state range. For example, I made 40% profit on Yamaha pots today, and Yamaha pot sales were 72.2% of my total sales. This is 100% of my total sales. This is the percentage of what that manufacturer is to my sales based on that date. Now, I could be looking at a year, I could be looking at a month. So it's a good way to find out where you're making your money, who your biggest suppliers are, who your biggest sellers are. Obviously, today, Yamaha was the biggest part of my sales. This vendor right here was 15.3%. NGK was only 1.7%. This particular supplier was only 10.8%. So you can see who's more profitable, where you're making your money, and who your biggest purchasers are or suppliers are. For example, I would like to have this 83.1% profit margin be 72% of my business. So this can really see kind of where you need to make decisions, who your better suppliers are. Maybe I can buy particular pots from this supplier. I want to buy more from that supplier because I can sell more. Okay, what we've gone over is 3 different reports. Sales journal, vendor journal, cash check journal. There are many other reports that will be going on more advanced levels. Those are the 3 that you really want to pay attention to. So go in, do some pot sales, take advantage of everything we've gone over on level 1. Obviously, level 1, chapter 1 was adding inventory, adding vendors, keying in manual orders, generating some inventory reports. Obviously, chapter 2, selling inventory, returning inventory, adding customers on the fly. Chapter 3, which we're doing now, run end-of-day reports. Okay, how much is in my cash register? How much money did I make? Where did I make my money? What suppliers? There's one other option that you may want to look at, interactive sales journal. What's the difference between interactive and sales journal? Well, this is going to be a printed report. Interactive lets me get a lot more detail. For example, if I do the exact same thing, it is going to show on the screen the exact same information we were looking at. Is my profit margin the same thing? But I can do one extra thing here. I can click on any particular one and say, okay, I want to see the actual detail to that. Let's list the detail. It tells me exactly what the customer bought. It was billed to AR, $161. That was the list price. Is the person that sold it? Or I can click on it here and say, you know what? I need to reprint the invoice. Here's the invoice. Or, you know what? Maybe I need to click on here again and say, go right to that customer. Is my whole customer, every single thing he did. So now I can look at not just that invoice, but maybe other invoices that he looked at. There's that invoice. There's this invoice here that we also sold. And I can also display the general ledgers entries that were made for that invoice. So this is a great tool. It's called the Drill Down Interactive, where you can click and get as much information so you can see the exact detail that makes up these numbers, what the invoice looked like, who printed the invoice, what general ledger entries were made for this particular sale, who made the sale. So you can get at any level that you wish. You double click on the particular line that you want to see the detail for, and you basically get a listing. You can print this out. You can reprint the invoice, or you can just go and just analyze anything about that particular customer and find out anything, whether you're looking for a particular part, whether you're doing a summary, whatever you're looking for. Now that was interactive sales journal. So we're only going over the top 4: sales journal, interactive sales journal, vendor journal, and balance in your cash register. What we really recommend, or most customers do, is at the end of every day, they definitely run balance the cash register, make sure your cash register balances. The second thing they may want to do is just hit sales journal, print it out, put it in a file. Here's how much money I made today. Maybe you want to scan the sales journal. One thing that you may want to check for, if you allow all your employees to give discounts, is look at this and thumb through ones that basically say, look at, why did you only make me 20%? Is the same person giving the farm away? Who's giving my discounts away? Who's giving the farm away? I need to talk to this employee. And there again, on the interactive one, you can actually look and see exactly where they gave the discounts, what line items they did, what pots they gave it on. So that's where the interactive comes in place. To look at these numbers here, click on it and get as much detail and find out maybe there's some employees you need to talk to. Maybe some employees are just giving away too much. If that's the case, maybe you want to take those privileges away from that employee so they cannot give discounts. Okay. This concludes Level 1, Chapter 3. What you basically should be doing is use as much of the system as you can. Make sure you can do all the things that are on Level 1. Look at page 10 of the Implementation and Training Guide. When you can accomplish all of functions on Level 1, then you should move on to Level 2. It's very important not to go on to the next level until you feel comfortable doing the first level. There again, we have to stress, don't be afraid to use the system. Don't be afraid to make a mistake. Making mistakes is the best way to learn. If you need help, call support. You can schedule interactive training with us anytime you wish. Okay, we're going to close.